and respect their cultural heritage, beliefs and relationships with the land, have acknowledged that they are of continuing importance to the Kaurna people living today. Council pledge, I'll read that to you as well. We seek wisdom and understanding as we face the duties of a united task, praying for the peace and prosperity of our citizens. I'm inspired. Right. Yeah, it sounds like a sort of owl sound. Just to remind you that we are being televised globally for those who are watching. Yeah. Those who, and if you happen to be watching, give Optus back my details. I'll be happy about that. Thank you very much. On leave, we have nil. Apologies, nil. We have a full house tonight, which is perfect. Declaration by members of a conflict of interest. Are there any? I couldn't see any when I looked through the agenda, so I'll take it that there are nil conflicts of interest. Thank you. Confirmation of minutes. Can someone move that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council for the 23rd of August and the special meeting on the 30th of August be taken as read and confirmed as a true record? Councillor Barnett, do you wish to speak to it?
No, thanks.
Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Councillor Group, wish to speak to it?
No, thank you.
Any further debate? That concludes debate. All those in favour? Against is carried unanimously. Sorry if I'm looking up and down over my glasses. My other one's broke, so I invested $10 whole in these. So
There's a service station shop on the way down here.
but are they cheaper than $10 at the service station?
$9.50.
Should we go on that one?
Yeah, should have gone to, yeah, should have gone on the run. Anyway, item 6, public question time. We allow a maximum period of 15 minutes for public question time. The maximum time is 3 minutes per person for a question, unless you grant or I grant an extension of time if appropriate. So, do I have any questions from the public for this public question time? Yes, if you'd like to come forward. Sorry, David, you stand. Okay, now I'm reminded that our procedures ask for a name and an address, which can not be published if you wish it not to be published. Thank you, CEO.
Given that you're streaming live throughout the world, it's really hard for that to not be published. So I might use the address that I used last time. That's
Yes, we could state your name and address.
so Rachel Sanderson, and care of number 14 Howard Street, Collinsville. So my question is, how much does it cost per year to lease the space at the Campbelltown depot? What amount of time is left on the contract? And what is the monthly cost of both the time and the fuel, given that it's 10 kilometres away and 30-minute drive? I realise that you might have.
Thank you. We want to take it on notice, CEO. All that work's been done. You just respond now.
Through you, Mayor Lachlan, yeah, I have taken on notice, but that information shouldn't be difficult to.
Yeah, thank you. You have a further question?
Yes, I do. Has the council considered the use of the Port Adelaide Enfield depot, which is, they have 2 depots, one being 3.6 kilometres away and 4 kilometres, given the cost of fuel at the moment and time and the budget situation?
Simple answer is yes. And their deal was financially attractive. But we can also give you further detail on that if you wish, but that's the simple answer. It was very attractive to us, but in terms of logistics, but it was not made attractive financially.
And is it possible to have another question?
Yes.
How much is spent per annum on glyphosates?
I happen to know the answer to that question. No, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that question at all. But we take it on notice.
Debating it tonight.
I don't have that. So, CEO, do you have an answer to that question?
No, I'm going to take on notice as well. I'm sorry. Unless Mr. Delano, yeah.
Still my 5 minutes.
3 minutes. Yes. There's a
Great.
4th question.
Is the council involved in the Ovingham overpass, which the state government are building at the moment? My understanding is there will be spare land. Will the council be part of that? And could that be considered for a depot or a community garden, or what plans does council have? Any ideas of potential use for that area?
Well, my understanding, and CEO, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is no spare land other than the small detention basin which they've disguised with landscaping. That's not suitable for any other purpose that would be vested across to us as public space. The Department of Transport own other land around the place, but it's not spare land, it's their land. CEO, am I incorrect for that?
No, through you, Mayor Lachlan, that's accurate. The only other location associated with Ovingham is the actual underpass itself, which again has been paved, is a thoroughfare, not really suitable. I don't believe that is a solution for a depot, both given size constraints, elevation issues,
You're
drainage.
anticipating another question, but the simple question is if there is spare land and there's not.
And for the depot, because there's also concerns by a lot of residents with the $10 million upgrade, of course, of the Ovingham station, which the former government allocated.
You got a question?
The parking, are you aware of what parking has been allocated? Because
Yes,
visitors are
we are.
worried.
There will be parking parallel alongside the station.
And that's it. So there's no land as part of the Ovingham overpass that's been allocated as part of a.
I
secure
think
parking.
there are, CEO, if you're not going to ask the director, we've not had any car parks there at all for train commuters, and now there will be 8. Is that the sort of number? I don't know the precise number.
I can go away. There is a car, on-street car parking in the Devonport, that'd be correct. Exact number will have to be back to the 6 or 8 in that order.
Yes, it's of that order, yes. But there's no, it's a very narrow street, and before there was none for train commuters, only on the resident side. Thank you very much. You'd like to resume your seat in the gallery. Are there any further questions from members of the gallery? Yes, if you'd like to come forward.
Good evening.
Thank you. And for the, again, same procedure, you can state your name and address.
Emmanuel Fishers, 2 Alpha Road Prospect,
Thank you.
and I'm a candidate running for mayor.
Thank you. And you've got 3 minutes if you need to ask a question.
I've got a question, but first I want to pay a compliment to you for 16 years of service.
Thank you.
As a commercial owner for 25 years and 4 years as a resident here, I must congratulate you for running a non-toxic council, which I've experienced personally at Tea Gully recently. Well, called me.
Thank you.
So I
Now,
appreciate
now,
that.
it's my obligation to say thank you so much, but I must stop you
Okay.
because we strictly have to keep this to questions. But I allowed you to say some nice things.
Well,
I'm sorry, everybody.
It's your 16 years. I'm
Yeah,
paying you
yeah,
a compliment because you have done reasonably well.
Head to the question. now.
Okay, my question is, as mayor and as you being the senior person to probably negotiate with state governments over the years, over 16 years, be it Liberal, Labor, or in power, have you found it beneficial to be as an independent person in the benefit for the resident and for Prospect to be able to get grants and obtain funding for special projects being independent? Has that worked in the favour of Prospect Council for the residents of Prospect?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and I'm sorry for the somewhat complicated answer. And there are different funding streams available to council, and in some cases, it doesn't matter what colour you are. For example, all of the colour politics, I mean, for all the park upgrades, the government some time ago set up a fund that every apartment pays $8,000 into, and that fund accumulates into millions, and we can apply to that to upgrade parks. It's a very simple process. It's overseen by the government architect, and it's at arm's length from the minister. So we would apply, and we have, for the skate park upgrade, for Charles Kane upgrade, for the Irish Harp Reserve upgrade, for Nanu River upgrade over Malmesworth, and receive 50% funding for those. We'll always write to the MP of that area for a letter of support, but the MP has little to do with the process. In fact, they can probably write a letter that they don't support it, and the government architect might get a bit questionable about that, but otherwise it's very straightforward. Other funds, the largest grant we've had recently is the upgrade of Devonport Terrace, which is about $1 million over 3 tranches. And that's come from a federal fund that was negotiated with the coalition government on behalf of the entire local government sector, which I did as president. And that was our allocation for that fund. There's a lot of other funds. It's rare that there's a grant given because the local member has their own money to grant something within their own seat. And the closest I ever got to that was a grant for the upgrade of the St Anthony's car park from a member, not the local member. I'm sorry, that's a bit of a long-winded answer to your question. Does it help be independent? Sort of, but it also helps if you have connections. So if you're well-connected independent, that would work. If you're in a party, that can also work because you usually have connections. Yeah, so I can't give you a straightforward answer because that's not been my experience.
So thank you for the answer.
Thank you. I'm sorry my answer was took too long. Thank you.
That's okay. It was well explained. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any further questions from the gallery? None. No, thank you very much, gallery. Now we'll move on to item 7, petitions nil, deputations nil, questions without notice. Are there any? Councillor Groups.
Thank you. I just have one. In the context of the current local government elections, what's the process for members of the public to raise concerns or to make complaints regarding inappropriate or even illegal behaviour by candidates?
CEO.
And the governance.
Members of the public and other candidates are encouraged to contact the Electoral Commission. There is a complaints form on their website that you can populate information into, and we encourage people to use that form.
Thank you.
If I could just add to that, signage obviously sits with us. So complaints about signage come to council. Customer service staff have been briefed on how to manage those as have our compliance team. But yeah, anything around authorization messaging, candidate behaviour goes to it's
Thank you.
Any further questions without notice? Councillor De Backer.
Just a quick one. Look, I noticed that there's been some work done at the Broadview Dog Park. I was just wondering, does that mean that the dog park will be closed for the next couple of weeks, or is it going to be cordoned off to the grass areas?
I'm not aware of that, CEO.
Mr. Delano.
For you there, so I'm not really with that, what's on the way at the moment. I'm taking on mine.
Okay, someone will send you a memo, or all of us a memo about that. Any further questions without notice? All right, we'll move on before I look up again. On to item 10, reports for decision. First item is item 10.1, the LGA President, Sayrock and Garrock nominations. And because there are a number of permutations and you've got them all in your report, I suggest we suspend meeting procedures. Where are we? 7:12 until 7:30, should we need it, to discuss this matter and see if there's any questions. All those in favour of suspension until 7:30? It's done until unanimously. Thank you. So as with these things, we do them every year or a bit more if we've got other positions, a bit of a discussion. If there's any questions, we take them. And if there's easy consensus, I'll simply ask someone to move that way. If there's not, we are ready for the ballot box and all sorts of stuff, ready to take a vote. So, Alan.
I just got the question, come November, whatever, all these people can change, isn't it?
Yes.
Why are we sort of voting on someone that might not be there in 6 weeks' time?
Yeah, it's an issue that's been raised.
Yeah.
There were lots of reforms around how the LGA worked and going from a board of 18 down to a board of 10, changing the timing. This is the one thing that's not quite perfect. There's an AGM cycle that has its own reasons for that timing. So the board just couldn't bring about that constitutional change. It will be looked at in the next term. It's an obvious question. The answer is complex. So yes, some people may not be elected. They'll just have a supplementary election through the council process. Well, yeah, it's not straightforward. Simple question. Good
Oh,
question.
thank you.
Good question. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else got any questions about the nominations or the information provided? All right, then, that's good. Anyone got any comments to make about the nominations for president? We'll take that one first.
Yes,
Thank you.
that's okay. Yeah, well, so we've got 5 nominations and I don't know the people personally. Two of those people have submitted attachments for us to read their history. So my take on that is I've been choosing one of those 2, not knowing the others.
Okay.
Unless someone could perhaps enlighten with other candidates.
And those 2 are?
Mayor Keith Parks from Alexandria, sorry, and Mayor Carolyn Phillips from Karoona. to the president.
Ah, yes, so some people have submitted more than the basic.
Yep.
Nomination pack.
Yep.
Yes, yes. Sometimes that's a good indication and sometimes it's, yeah, optional, yes.
Just a brief question, any of the president nominees been elected unopposed at this point? I can check, but any of the nominees, have they been elected without? opposition?
I'm aware that Mayor Park's position is being contested by another 3. I'm aware that Mayor Vickery's, I think, has 1 against her. The others I'm unaware. Sorry. Unless there's other, we could look them all up if you.
No, I'm just curious in case.
Yeah.
Okay, you knew. So.
Hmm.
Is contested. Trustees contested.
Why don't you nominate someone, because I'm not here.
Bill O'Brien from the Light Region is being contested by 1 other, I think. Carolyn Phillips. It's a very small council, Karoonda East Murray. She may be uncontested. Just to give you some insight into this, Bill O'Brien has been around the SAROC table a lot. I don't believe he's been on the board itself in the new format. Erica Vickery has served on the board for some time and been a national director for us as well. Keith Parks has been on the board for the last term and has served on the nominations committee with me and on the audit and risk committee. And Eric has been on a couple other committees as well. Brett Benbow has not served on the board in any capacity. Neither has Carolyn Phillips, again, a relative newcomer. Carolyn Phillips and Brett Benbow. Yeah, Mayor Phillips is uncontested. Yeah.
I'm happy to kick it off and suggest Erica Vickery. It's the only person I do know on the list. And I think with national experience, having been around the table for a while, that could be useful. So just as a starting bit.
Yes.
For someone to argue for or against.
I'd support that. I've known Erica for a long time when I was at government. Myself. So I think she's very experienced and knowledgeable around both the state and federal scene.
Yes, absolutely uncontested. She's very knowledgeable. She's been on the Country Arts Board for a long time. She serves on the Grants Commission. She's the board's rep on the Grants Commission. There's only 3 people on the commission. She's very highly regarded. Our Court Lucendale's done pretty well, and she will very happy to travel 4 hours to Adelaide at the moment's notice for a meeting. Never complain about the travel. Very experienced operator at local, state, and at national level. So yes, I can concur with that. I do know that about her. Similarly, Mayor Parks has served on some of the committees, and his work around the board table is highly regarded. The other 3 I really don't know, other than Carolyn Phillips. I think is a pretty smart person, but it's quite a small council, so her exposure to statewide issues is probably more limited. Port Augusta Mayor, again, is fairly new and has been coming to a few things, ordinary general meetings and annual general meetings, but again, relatively new. And Bill O'Brien has served, as I said, on SAROC a few times. Lovely bloke in Light Regional Council. He was nominated by another council, he tells me, by Wakefield, I think, which surprised him.
He has lovely Facebook posts.
He does have lovely Facebook posts, yeah. I think in terms of experience, Mayor Parks and Mayor Vickery other two with board experience. If you're leaning that way, you're going to a completely fresh space from outside the board. Of course, the other three are there. But I would probably lean Mayor Vickery's way just because of the depth of experience she's had relative to Mayor Parks. But it's, you know, happy to hear other comments on that one. If not, then we'll move on to the Garrock nominations. We need to choose two. As you'd be aware, I've been the Garrock rep since Garrock was developed roughly 4 years ago. Thank you for your support in that. I'm not standing. I asked you to support my nomination, but of course, because I'm not standing, I withdrew my nomination so as to not muck up the process. That leaves us with the other nominees. Within that, and probably stating the obvious, there is Mayor Don Palmer from Unley, which is a lot kind of like us in terms of the residential profile and the dominance of state-owned main roads, I guess, for want of a better term. Mayor Fricker, of course, is our immediate neighbour, well known to me and the CEO because she serves on the Eastern Regional Alliance as a mayor. Deputy Mayor Don Palmer does not. He's filled in once or twice, but only mayors and CEOs go to that forum. Mayor Jane Claire Wisdom is a current rep for Garrock in Adelaide Hills. Fantastic person, very, very intelligent person, has been re-elected unopposed. There's some discomfort that she's not part of the Eastern Regional Alliance, even though she's part of the, Adelaide Hills Council is part of the Eastern Region. The Eastern Region has not been willing to accept Adelaide Hills as a member of the Eastern Region Alliance because they don't consider they have the same type of suburban residential profile. And I ask every year or so whether they should join, and the consensus is that they don't get invited, but because they're part of the East Region, they are entitled to be considered and they get a vote in this process here. The other lady, Anna Liam Bruno from Campbelltown, I've been assured is a great person. I really don't know much about her, but she has written to us, you'll notice. Probably the start of batting, I guess the obvious one would be Mayor Fricker, given that she's a neighbour and probably knows us best in terms of us being selfish about making sure Garrock represents us. I'm happy to hear comments from elected members.
Other myself, only in this list, obviously Elizabeth Fricker and Don Palmer, but I don't know.
Yeah, any other comments?
Yes, well, I know, all of them, and all have their strengths. I'm thinking with Mary's the Fricker, I've been impressed, I think, by what I've seen and heard, and also I like some of the things that she's passionate about. And I think she's very highly qualified with her Bachelor of Arts in American Economics, Politics, Master of Business Admin, and so forth. Again, Mayor Dr. Jones Claire Wisdom is very instrumental and passionate with the state libraries, and again, some of the other areas that I think would serve us well. Councillor Liam Bruno, she's very passionate, I know through her mayor, Jill Whitaker, is highly recommended as well. Yeah, I don't know personally Mayor Don Palmer. So I think I would both probably be heading towards either Joan Wisdom, which is has been elected Powers, but then I don't think we should hold that against people for going to an election and, you know, putting a hand up, or Mayor Elizabeth Ricker.
Okay, other comments? Thanks, Present.
Trying to double check the administration myself, this email, but in terms of people to making that and reaching out, I think that the president was the Karen reached out, Mayor Elizabeth Ricker's written to I think everybody, and anyone else who can, other candidates or
I
please.
forwarded what I received, I think, as best I could. Did we receive anything else other than? No, Yeah, it's- should be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, I think in terms of like writing to us away from this, unless I've missed others, but I'm just.
It's not, it's not a required
No,
step.
but it's a good, yeah, it's a good effort,
Yeah.
I think.
It's an effort, yep. And well, I'm assuming that what we've received, we've gotten, hasn't gone to spam and junk and whatever, and you know, that I'll assume that, but I wouldn't want to state that in the public record that they definitely haven't sent us.
No, that's what I just said, that's the only two, Carolyn, I think, for President Elizabeth for this one, then any two.
I'd say first, just sort of like.
Well, they're both mayors, it's that advantage, remembering that of the 4 regions, 8 delegates are chosen, of those 4 are elevated to board. So you probably just need to remind yourself that the people you vote for could end up on the state board, and they're certainly capable of it. I will just state again, the Eastern Regional Alliance, you know, have voted several times for Adelaide Hills Council not to be part of the era. I've never been troubled by them being part of it. Rather, they're in the tent so we could talk about issues together. But for the last 4 years, Mayor Wisdom has represented our region without coming to a regional meeting, which is kind of interesting. So I think that's a deficient process. And it does not appear to be about to change because ERA does not have to give their membership of the Eastern Regional Alliance because it's separate to the LGA process. So just so you're aware of that, I'll hold her in very high regard, but there's a process issue around how she represents us, for instance, as a member.
Yeah, I'm all likely to vote for Mayor Fricker and John again, just being cognizant of sort of the issues that we have with the sort of density, growth, parking, that kind of thing. So that's
Okay, any other comments? I'm not sensing clear consensus. I'm going to suggest, CEO, that we undertake a vote on both of these, but there's been some discussion. Is there any more views people wish to put? Yep.
I'm
Tweet.
comfortable with Mayor Fricker, given that she's close to us and she is understands what, you know, some of the issues that we're going through as well. I think Don Palmer, you know, similar to Councillor Tobacco said, you know, some of the issues are very similar to what we're experiencing as well. So either one of them, but I'm leaning more towards Mayor Fricker.
Okay. Yep. Any other comments? Otherwise, we'll get that moving. We might move the freshest one first, I think, the Gay Rock one, if we can. Thank you. The manager of governance is our CEO delegated all his returning officer duties to manager of governance. And she is ready. Absolutely. Yeah, you wouldn't have done this. No.
Just give me a formal ballot. Look at that. You've got it all.
Right, you can new box and
You
all.
didn't have to say that so quickly. You could have gone. Oh,
Harold, up in the council, we aim to hire the best people, the most capable people, and I've got every confidence in terms of.
Here we have.
so for Garrett nominations, we have Fricker.
Oh, yes.
Oh, we've already
Unless
voted,
you,
We have ballot papers.
yes,
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Wisdom. And Bruno.
You must have already voted.
No, only if it's a tie vote.
Okay, all right, let's get the other one.
Yeah.
So that would have been easier.
Well, I mean, if we test the waters and see if people are happy with that, so then we don't have to go to the voting. individually or?
I don't know. We should vote, yeah. I'll vote.
I didn't pick up a sufficient consensus, so let's just run through this. So if you could write two names on there, yeah, that's what you've got, is it? Bits of paper.
You get 2 bits of paper, one name on each bit of.
Oh, one name each, sorry, thanks, returning officer.
So this one being for the LGA president members and one being.
No, don't do Garrett.
Oh, two Garrett, sorry, two Garrett. We're doing Garrett.
Yeah, remember you delegated.
You're not returning officer.
Point of order, yeah.
Yeah.
Point of order.
Well, we're out of session. Sorry, we don't need to extend the suspension of meeting procedures for another 10 minutes to 7:40. All those in favour? Sorry, let's do that again. Suspend meeting procedures until 7:40. All those in favour? Thank you.
Just to clarify, if we had the ballot paper, it would say X, so it's not preferential vote, we can basically, the 2 candidates.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. It's first past the post in the way this council votes on these matters. So
We're doing the 2 for Garrett.
2 for Garrett, 2 names, 1 on each piece of paper. Had some good discussion.
Members, you all have the names in front of you. Does anyone not have the names in front of them?
It's on page 23, if you need it.
I'll borrow one. You can borrow mine.
And
There's no authorized. Yeah, there's no authorization there. On the ballot papers.
Thank you.
no, authorised by the returning officer.
Printed by Terry Howe.
He's the most popular candidate out there.
Small. It's in lemon.
Love my food.
So do we write 1 and 2 as well?
No, just name, it's first part of the post.
No preference.
There's 2 candidates with 5 or more names, they win, otherwise we do another round.
And if it's tied, you all know what happens when it's tied. We pull a name out of the box.
Need like a Harry Potter or something.
And the name pulled, just so we're really clear, the name pulled out is eliminated. Just so that no one's surprised by that. We check the procedures today.
Anticipation.
Sounds like a big problem.
So we only got 2 for.
We only.
Garrett. We only got 2. so-
Yes,
There'll be 18 names in the box.
there's 4 possibilities. Yeah. It's a while since we've had a ballot, right?
It's good.
Did you get to vote 2 minutes?
Yes, thank you, councillor. One of the rare occasions.
That is also in the procedure. Check today.
Then I have to spell marks later, and when I put them on.
Which way would you
Discussion on the.
We don't then write that into the-
I think it's approved that ballot. Yeah. Okay, while that count's underway for the Garrock nominees, back to the president nominations. Any further discussion on that? See if we can come to a clear consensus around that one. If not, we'll need another ballot, of course. Erica Vickery. Second, we don't need a first and a second, but anyway, so what I'll do is I'll move it back to a formal session, ask someone to move that way, which is the most expedient way to go. If we just test that, has anybody got an alternate view on Erica being our nominee? Well, I don't see any shaking of the head, so we might save ourselves a ballot on that, if someone's going to get upset about that, okay?
Another misunderstanding.
coming up. Next item, or I've got meeting procedure suspended, we have the LGFA trustees. There is a position that has us, Sarah and Garrick board positions have a small stipend with them. I've emphasised the word small, piffling. LGFA does have a larger one. Pretty serious dollars that the LGFA deals with, some of which are ours, of course. And they've done an excellent job. So you might want to have a bit of thinking about that one. I presume you've read the papers and have some thoughts already. And then item 10.3, nominations to State Records Council. And while we're out of session, we have one nomination from this council, which is the only one we need to back, unless an elected member wishes to nominate for that position.
I've got extensive record collection.
Thank you very much for that contribution, Councillor Barnett. If there aren't any other nominations, not saying there shouldn't be, but that one could be relatively simple, but please. If anyone wishes to run for that position, I believe the staff will stand aside if that's happen.
When he was here, like,
Yes, indeed. Okay, all right, so that's just bit of information for you.
Mayor Lachlan.
See ya.
Through you to the members, we have had a misunderstanding in terms of the process.
no.
However, we do have a result, subject to the will of the chamber, given that we're suspended meeting procedures.
Right.
Deputy Mayor Palmer is a clear consensus pick for one of the
Go, Rob.
LGA president.
What?
Sorry, well, we're doing Garrock, aren't we?
Yes.
Oh, no, we have a clear result in that case. Mayor Fricker and Deputy Mayor Palmer.
Yeah.
All right, okay, good. You're scaring me there.
Sorry,
Steve.
sorry, my apologies. Again, this is why I delegate these things. I shouldn't involve.
Yeah, yeah.
Point of order,
One of that New South Wales methods over here.
through the ballots.
Okay, in which case, it being 3 minutes before the time allocated, unless there's any other reason not to, I'll resume formal meeting procedures and go to the recommendation in the papers on page 4 and ask someone to move at item 2, support Erica Vickery, and B, Fricker and Palmer. I presume, is that the order? Doesn't really matter, I suppose.
Both got equal numbers of
Both,
votes.
so it doesn't matter. Okay, someone happy to move that way? Ooh, dead heat. I'll take Councillor Barnett as the mover. Do you wish to speak to it?
No.
Councillor Boot as a seconder. Do you wish to speak to it?
I moved it, but you can see me.
I saw your hand motioning me to graciously give that honour
That I did.
to Councillor Barnett,
I'm happy to.
as
second.
the world saw, who are all watching this
This is
tonight.
true. This is true. No, don't want to speak to it.
That would have been a quicker speech. Do I have any other debate? If not, if that concludes debate, all those in favour? Against, it is carried unanimously. Thank you for the discussion. Let's hope they do a great job representing us.
Probably get returned.
Yes, well, correct. Item 10.2, LGFA elections for the position of representative members of the Board of Trustees. Recommendations on page 32. Once again, I seek your indulgence to suspend meeting procedures
that invalid?
I'll take it. That is candidate, yes, it is. Candidate 6. Okay, we have one. We have results. Oh, we got a result. Members, 2, 3, 4. All there, all votes are accounted for. Members, we have a clear result. Our nominees, at least according to the ballots, should be Annette Martin and Michael Sedgwick. That's correct.
Thank you, returning officer and CEO. Now move us back into formal session to have somebody wishes to move that way. Thank you, councillor DeBacker, wish to speak to it. Do I have a seconder? The group wish to speak to it.
I'll take that one. No, thank you.
Any further debate? Further debate, just to be clear, I think it is read up on the screen there. Annette Martin and Michael Sedgwick. No further debate. To conclude the debate. All those in favour? Yes, is carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 10.3.
Sorry, Mayor, just for the Sedgwick point of order, Sedgwick doesn't have an E in it. That's for the completeness of the record.
Thank you very much for that. We wouldn't want the wrong Sedgwick to be found and given that job without our approval. Okay, item 10.3, recommendations on page 45. There is a nomination from staff. Doesn't appear to be a nomination from any elected member. Should there be not one, ask someone to move as per the recommendation of 45, with the staff nomination in there unless you wish otherwise. Councillor DeBacker, are you happy to move that way? Yes, please.
Look, I had considered applying for this. I think it's a really important role, and I think probably underrated. Certainly looking into the criteria was intergovernmental experience, and certainly some of the back, I suppose what you refer to as the back of house processes and things like that as well. A bit of knowledge of that. However, it's so important. I mean, I know even within council searching for old plans, rates notices, retrieving of information, storage of information, what we have to collect, different data types. So a CAD file from circa 1999. How do you keep hold of that? So I think it's ever evolving, and I think certainly future councils are going to have to look at digital file management systems. So I'm certainly aware of the need for that across a lot of organisations. So I note the staff's submission, and I strongly support that.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Oh, no, not yet. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Barnett, wish to speak to it.
No, I just agree, concur that it is a very important role, and I think we have an excellent candidate in our nominee.
Thank you. Any further debate? Councillor DeBacker, wish to sum up?
Thank you.
That concludes debate. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. So yeah, if we could retrieve Director Ken, retrieve our successful candidates. Thank you. Item 11, general business. Is there any urgent business to raise tonight? No. We'll move on then to item 12, reports for information. Protocols there before you. We move them on block unless they're withdrawn. Does anybody wish to withdraw item 12.1, the Merrill monthly activity report? No. Then we wish to withdraw item 12.2, the bi-monthly projects update report. Thank you, Mayor. Anybody wish to withdraw item 12.3, the Baindi Kamunka quarterly report? Councillor Harris. Does anybody wish to withdraw item 12.4, the community bus updates? Then we wish to withdraw on 12.5, the information technology strategy final status report. Councillor De Backer. Okay. Can I therefore someone move on block item 12.1 and 12.4?
Move that way.
Thank you. There's no debate. And seconded by councillor Harris. That concludes debate. All those in favour? And carried unanimously. Thank you. And now we move to item 12.2, the bi-monthly projects update report. Deputy Mayor, did you wish to move it in its current form and then speak to it?
I will, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Far away.
Look, it's a good report. I did note that there were a reasonable number of errors in the information presented. There was images that were in the wrong spot. There was gaps in some of the information that would have been useful. So I like having that level of detail. It's really good to better dig into where things are at, and it's a great resource to have when one is out speaking with members of the public to be able to give them an update on things that are important to them are at. But if the information is missing, or in some cases doesn't feel like it's reliable in 100% of circumstances, then that could put us in a situation. So I guess I just encourage the CEO to have a bit of a review of the depth of some of the information and see if there's a little bit more we could add in there in some instances. But overall, really good report. It's good to see that we are making progress in a lot of areas, and I thank you for the report.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Groot, could you speak to it?
No, thank you.
Any further debate? Councillor De Backer.
A question on page 64, the Prospect Maker Shed expansion.
Yes, question?
Look, it's really interesting, but very concerning at the same stage, is that it's only got status to be a storage shed. So my understanding of the information before us is it can't be used as a maker shed. Am I correct in that understanding?
CEO,
Mrs. Lana.
Director.
Through you, Mayor. That's correct, Councillor De Backer. It's currently had an approval with respect to a use of a domestic shed. The budget doesn't allow for the upgrades required to facilitate it to be a functional maker shed, despite the fire separation and other essential safety provisions provided. We're presenting a recommendation for BR1 with respect to some additional funds that are required to actually upspec the shed to meet those requirements, and also just some accessibility into and out of the shed as well. Bearing in mind we delivered with a donation, and effectively the project has been further diligence with respect to the project, as you know, identified as more work to be done to make it available for the functions of the maker shed as opposed to just storage.
Thank you. Councillor.
Just a further question to that. Is this standard of other sheds around the stage or part of the program? So my understanding is the purpose of a shed, it's not heated or cooled, so therefore doesn't require building approval. Is it only for the accessibility, or is it intended to be heated or cooled?
Still needs building approval because it's developed.
Yeah, building approval, but it reads to me that the category, and I don't know who's determined that.
Right,
It's an
okay.
independent
Yeah.
assessment.
So, Director, sorry, through you, CEO, Director, can you shed any more light on what the issue is about its use?
For you, Mayor, in regards to the class, to the nature of occupation, they're going to be occupying that on a regular basis, performing work activities beyond what would be reasonably expected as a domestic shed. As the class of approval that's been provided, for it to operate in the manner as intended, there is further works that are required in regards to the essential safety provision, in regards to fire separation between buildings and facilities, and those works are currently being scoped up with the intent that we put a recommendation to BR1, if not BR2.
Thank you. Councillor, you still have some time with your 5 minutes, should you need it.
I'm sure there'll be further questions that come back by email.
Okay, yep, sure, yeah. Any further debate on the projects report? 4 questions. If not, Deputy Mayor, you should sum up.
No, thanks.
that concludes debate. All those in favour? Against is carried unanimously. Thank you. 12.3, Bindi Kamunka quarterly update was withdrawn by councillor Harris. Just to move in its current form and then,
I will be moving it, yes.
thank you, far away.
I just wanted to add a few things to it because naturally this is my last opportunity to do it. I imagine it will just go through with a vote of yes, and I hope so, but I want to point out a couple of things. The task we started to do with this project was not easy from the start. It hasn't been easy all the way through it, from beginning to now and to continue on. I always have a worry that I'm leaving before a project's finished, so it's a little bit sad because I think there's still a lot more work to do. I'd like to thank David and Christina in particular for the roles they've played in it. I can't thank the other people because they're not here, and the way I read it, I will tomorrow night, I think it is, or the next night. But I urge people when they read this to see what we were trying to do. They spotlights come on or heat.
We've got, sorry, councillors, we've got 3 levels of lighting in the room, and we have a smart building and a smart lighting touchpad which controls everything except the pot plants, and sometimes it's just a bit confusing.
It's all right. I thought you might have thought I was saying something. I needed the spotlight right in the face. I'm not too sure.
So
But look,
everyone should see you.
I'd like to urge the people that particularly are running and people behind me that are running so urban successful that we do keep following this project we're looking at. We've got a government, federal government at the moment, unless it changes its mind, it's looking and doing a heck of a lot of things with a voice, with parts in parliament and various sort of committees, but that is not Prospect. This is what I felt should happen as Prospect, as us, as our people we represent. And it's happening. There's going to be a meeting in November, so I won't be there for that, a public one and this sort of stuff. But I'd like to thank council and all the people that have got us this far, because I see it so important that we recognise and respect other human beings that walked in our city, and I see this as part of doing it. I see it as a very important part, and some of the people in my neighbourhood that have spoken to me see it quite an important and strong thing as well, that when they walk down the street, we respect exactly everyone that's been here for 65,000 years as a Prospect resident. I do urge people to support this. In doing that, by me leaving, I'm trying to urge people, make sure we keep going down this track, make sure we keep it working, and this is just another step. And hopefully I thank people in another year or two when we perhaps get where we're going. Thank you.
Thank you. And for us for a second, and councillor, your work on that and leadership of that is noted. That the next community forum is the 10th of October, which hopefully you very much can make.
Yeah.
Because we've got a job for you there, so don't go away. And tomorrow night there's a meeting as well. So do I have a second? Sorry, councillor Group.
Look, I would like to second it, just to probably take the opportunity as I can, just to thank Councillor Harris for his work on this and naming of buildings and naming of roads and all sorts of things that he's been part of over the last many years, but particularly this particular initiative, which I think is really important for us as a city. I would remind the councillor, in the terms of reference, the new terms of reference, there's a section there that says number 3 open to the public. So while he might not be here in an elected member capacity, it doesn't mean he can't turn up to the meeting. So I think oh, well, that's true. Actually, I'll withdraw it. But no, you're welcome on this side of Van North Road anytime, councillor. But I think it is really a good opportunity for not just Councillor Harris, but others to be involved in this very, very important debate in our city and our community as well. But I certainly commend the report, but just want to take this opportunity to thank Councillor Harris for what he's done and his involvement over many, many years, not just the last 12 months.
Thank you. Any further debate? Councillor Backer.
Look, again, just thank you to all involved. It's been part of a journey for me as well. I've attended, one of the, meetings, not the AUP Monday, but one of the, sessions, talking about some of the pain that's been caused, and I think, you know, certainly Councillor Harris has highlighted the having the statement from the heart displayed, having the flags displayed, and continuing the conversation. But I think there's still so much more we can do. I noticed in here there are actually going to be working groups, and I think I'm really encouraged by that, because I think there's, so I walk into painting and I see prospect history books. Now, for me, why don't we have done language books for sale for our community, you know, and I think there's opportunities for those things to happen. And it doesn't have to be driven down from council, that can come up from community or from administration. So I think there's things that we can actively do to have the Ghana presence in our buildings, in our places, in our spaces. And, you know, looking at Port Adelaide Includes website, and they've got a lot of information about Ghana history, heritage, and ongoing heritage, and we have scarcely little. And that's something that we need to maybe address sooner rather than later, with or without motion from council. So
Thank you.
my comment.
Yep. Thank you. Any further debate? Councillor Bunny.
Yes, I'd just like to add my heartfelt thanks to Councillor Harris. It's been over a long time, what more than 18 years. Yeah. 24 years, all right. But anyway, a long time.
25.
And he's always there as a bit of a voice to us, as a conscience, you know, and a reminder. And that's how I think very much about. And it was felt very important that we have this time something a little bit different than what we had to the first forum to start. And that was the involvement of the representatives of the elders and youth, young people. So the Ghana families will be nominating those to come to this next one. And also, I think on page 114, something a little bit unique, I think, that our support for First Nations people was highlighted recently in the City of Prospect being named to finalists in the Intelligent Cities Forum, the Reconciliation Action Plans, and establishment of a painting commander formed a key part of that submission. And our one of our reference group members, Rosalind Coleman, provided a welcome to country that was filmed, and that be presented to the Intelligent City judging panel. And part of our efforts to be named the world's most intelligent city. And I think it's a valuable opportunity to not only show council's efforts, but also our First Peoples efforts being included in the space, that inclusion space, to an international audience. So I recommend the report.
Yep. Thank you. Any further debate? Just briefly from the chair, I just want to thank the CEO for picking up this topic and making sure we had a seamless transition from former staff into new staff. And congratulations to Director Fairley Taylor for picking this up. She's well connected in the Ghana community and doing some terrific work in keeping this glued together. This is a very challenging space. We are feeling our way through it. So are the Ghana Yurta Aboriginal Corporation and the community representatives that they have chosen. So it takes a long time to get anywhere, but I'm delighted that the second major forum is on the 10th of October. And it's shaping up to be a really, really good one, really powerful time for people to be able to speak about what matters to them, about the next steps. So I encourage you to set that aside in your diaries and make sure that you can be there for that, that session. And hopefully a number of community members have expressed interest to make it, as well as the Ghana representatives. So it's a community-wide discussion, as we all know. That's what we want. But thank you, CEO and Director, for getting us, continues to move us forward in these very, very challenging spaces. There are no rules for how you do this. So we write the rule, and then the next time we meet, we kind of rewrite it a bit to get it even better. That's kind of how it works. So thank you for your patience too. Any further debate? If not, back to Councillor Harris, if you wish to sum up.
Always was, always will.
That concludes debate. All those in favour? Yes, is carried unanimously. Thank you. Next item is 12.5, I think. Is that right? And withdrawn by Councillor De Backer. Do you wish to move it as it is, Councillor De Backer?
Get spread out over the 7 days, over the 6 7 days as per the report. That is illustrated as I guess that's something. So that has been spread out through training, digital government, paperless council communication, and those are the things.
Okay.
I probably disagree, because I think some of the customer centricity is about user testing and public facing parts of this things as well. So
Sorry.
maybe I'll keep that for.
Are you moving it now to talk to it? Because that's not a
Okay, I'll
question.
move it to talk to.
Yeah, okay, great. Can carry on then.
All right,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, so I think it's all good. So, I think it's a really important topic to have. I think I've wanted this for a while, and we've also got to fund it. So the next council has to be serious about, funding bits of this as well. But the reason I spoke to this is that I think the KPIs of what we've done hasn't actually captured the customer centric part of it. I think a lot of technology what I've noticed over the years, the bids that come up to us aren't supported because they aren't sold as what's the benefit to the community, what's the benefit to the user, what's the benefit to us. Have we user tested it? Can it be better than it is? Are the staff being trained? So there's all these kind of bits and pieces that we kind of go, well, this is another system, and no one's actually telling us how a rate pays for the benefit. So I think if I would like to see in the next iteration that goes to the next council, how we're actually going to do that design thinking when we've got a new system, or when we're selecting something, how are we user testing it, how are we making it better, how are we bringing that training in-house. So there's a lot of, I think, nice words, I think, in the report that's been written, but I'd like to see that customer-centric written and embedded in the way that we go forward, because that's what we've used. So I'd be interested if there's any other comments. But yes, we do have to fund it, and we have to have a reason why ratepayers should fund it.
Yep, thank you. And we see the CEO nodding a lot. Do I have a seconder, as in recognising those comments you've made? Councillor Barnett, do you wish to speak?
Yes, I think I concur with Councillor De Backer that it needs to be somehow made more upfront about that part of it, because for many years we've been striving for more of that customer service and going through many iterations of that. I also think it could be captured somewhere that with our access and inclusion group, that there could perhaps be some testing in there, with terms of people with disabilities, how that works out. I mean, that could be staff as well as our customer service and our community.
Yes. Good comment. Any further debate? Deputy Mayor.
So
I understand the CEO wasn't responsible for developing the strategy. What I see in the company I work for, mostly in the private sector, is not necessarily separating out an IT strategy from every other aspect of their business strategy. It kind of puts it out on a rock and treats it as something a little bit different. And maybe that's one of the issues with adoption. I'm not saying we've had a problem here, but it tends to be wound into every aspect of what a business does and how it operates these days. So I look forward to seeing the approach that the CEO will be putting forward for the next one of these we do. The timelines for these sorts of things are interesting as well. I note in the report and my own experiences, things move so quickly, locking ourselves into a direction and too hard and fast away, and to miss out on the opportunity to be more agile and take advantage of emerging technologies and a rapidly evolving way of doing business. And it's all sitting in behind the outcome that Councillor De Backer referenced, being the customer-centric, the customer experience. So the crafting of the next one of these is going to be critical to the success of it, and I look forward to either being part of it or looking on with interest to see how that unfolds.
Good comments. Any further debate? Councillor De Backer, just to sum up.
No, I think just reiterate the comments. So I think when the next council sees this, we have to have customer centric at front mind and certainly embedded in our business, not as a separate item.
Yep. Thank you. That concludes debate. All those in favour? Against is carried unanimously. Thank you. And now on to item 13, council member reports and briefings. Are there any member reports and briefings? Councillor Harris.
Simple. I've been to a few events and I just want to say the words. People know who they are. Thank you. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for the shortest member report ever recorded.
Thank you. Oh, it's another word. I'll drop it.
Full stops. That I think that's the expression that Councillor Pearce has taught us. It's a very useful one. Okay, move on to no further member reports. Sorry, there were?
I thought I was full stop, but clearly it's Councillor Pearce.
Yeah, it was. Yes. Thank you. Councillor Nguyen, did you?
Order.
Yes.
Yes.
Not last Sunday, Sunday before, Councillor Pearce, myself, Councillor Group and Deputy Mayor attended the Vietnamese Children's New Year Festival, Full Moon Festival, sorry, Full Moon Festival. In the park. I think the weather wasn't the best, but we had great turnout. Yeah, so that was really nice, an organisation where we provided a bit of funding to, and it's just about, you know, children celebrating New Year, Full Moon Festival. So it was really nice to see children, the Vietnamese community from outside the border, our border community using the space. And it was really nice to see Deputy Mayor Larwood doing a welcome speech welcoming, you know, the community there on council land. Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you for that. Yeah, I couldn't make that one. But thank you for that description. Any further member reports? No, move on then. Item 14, motions on notice. We have 14.1, the saturated steam treatment trial. Councillor Christina Barnett, it's on page 162. And you don't have to read it if you don't want to.
I will read it just so that we're clear, that council investigates a trial of using saturated steam treatment. So underlining investigates the trial of saturated steam as a method of killing weeds in playgrounds in the Prospect Council area instead of glyphosate or similar chemical spray to reduce the amount of chemicals in our environment and reduce potential harm to humans and animals. I think hopefully you've all read the rationale of how this came about and the explanation about what a saturated steam treatment is. And there was, I included a YouTube video about the trial use at Port Adelaide Enfield Council. That if you looked at that, you see, how it actually operates and works. And you have the staff response. Now, I know some of us most probably would be a bit shocked at how much it's likely could cost if we did it totally. But I'd also like to, that was not mentioned in the council report and the staff response, was about investigating council purchasing its own saturated steam weed control machine that may save costs instead of hiring an outside contractor, which all these others do. So my logic is that if we already have a staff person using the glyphosate weed control mechanism out there, and the glyphosate, then why don't we have the same staff person using a saturated steam weed control machine instead? All right, not spreading chemicals. And perhaps the nearby council may be interested, or other councils may be interested in the sharing of purchasing one of these saturated steam weed control machines. And we could use the local government purchasing authority to further save costs on doing this. So as part of what I'm calling for is a bit further investigation. And I believe there are other saturated steam weed machines. There are some newer ones that are coming on board as well. And part of the investigation, I'd like to see that council has perhaps a small A-frame sign indicating that council staff is spraying speeding working, or something, just so members of the public are aware, because there are some people that may be more hypersensitive to the chemicals. I think there are some further things that we could add into a report, another report to come to council at another time. Now, on another matter, I must admit I was actually disappointed to read. I don't know if everybody's seen mayoral candidate Rachel Sanderson's there's an article in the paper showed mayoral bid, and on another page it featured in the cartoons, which was I know that some of that's the reporting of it, but I guess I was very upset that these sorts of comments and things seem to trivialise my motion, which I put as a serious response to a resident's concern. So I'd just like to have that up front. All right, so I commend this, underlining it's for an investigation into some of the further things. I'd like to commend this to you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Harris.
Yes.
Indicating that way, just speak to it.
First of all, I don't see a problem with using goats. We have residents that use them and they're great at getting rid of weeds. Might not be an answer here, but I'm a person that thinks that's a good idea. Put that to one side. I'm definitely supporting this because things Christina, it's just council. Should say it properly. It's reporting, but I lived through a time when they told us cigarette smoking was good for you. They actually had doctors that said it was good for you. And I agreed with them in those days because I was a smoker. But then I've dealt through my union life with various other chemicals. This is one of them. And I've dealt with asbestos. And people tell you that's okay as long as we wear the right suit and we do it the right way. And silicon, I can name a whole heap of things. Our health authorities that we've quoted to use, and all due respect, I accept that people do accept these things. But it's safe if we do it this way and that way. And the American ones that have just proved the opposite is not really our situation. It's farm people that use big machines and use a whole lot of it and all this sort of stuff. But I personally believe I personally believe it's a dangerous chemical. I don't think, not just in playgrounds, I think in a lot of places it shouldn't be used. Shouldn't be selling to people like myself in Bunnings and places like that to take home, because I don't wear a mask and I don't wash my hands as regular as I should. And so we're giving poison to people to use wrongly. Going into a playground environment, a street environment, and I'm even going to ask the director to do some poison stuff later. But in a street environment, they walk away, our workers walk away and done a good job. You know, no question, they wear masks, they do this and that. And I watched a couple of them on Prospect Road down near the boundary today or yesterday. But then it's on the grass, then it's on the ground, and then it's on the wall. Then the dog comes along and licks it, and then the dog licks a little kid's face. You know, it's a chemical, well, not a bomb ground, but other people might happen. But so as much as possible, if we can eliminate doing it. This might be too dear, it might be costly and all that sort of stuff, but then maybe we should keep looking for other ones. But any sort of idea, and I thank Christine for bringing this forward, any sort of idea that we stop using these sort of chemicals, I believe we should support. So I'm very happy to second this. And we just shouldn't be using them in playgrounds even nighttime, daytime, or in the morning, because it stays on the grass. It stays on the ground, it stays on the fence, it stays on the swings and all that. So I'm happy to second it.
Okay, thank you. Further debate, councillor DeBack.
Well, thank you, councillor Barnett and councillor Harris for bringing this to our attention, and we'll note in the report that we discussed this back in 2018. Look, I think this is bigger than just us. Like, I don't know if anyone caught the Guardian article today, and there's herbicides and pesticides that we use that are banned in Europe. That's not us, Prospect Council, but more widely in Australia. Look, I also tried to find online information from the education department on what their standards are for in playgrounds. And I think it's ridiculous that, you know, if you're a parent of a child, or dare I say, even our dogs in our dog parks, if you go to one council at the service level, because that's really what we're talking about, is a service level, the expectation should be different from one council to another. And I think it's something that needs to be looked at from the state level to the legislature when dealing with these sensitive areas. If there is legislation that exists, and there's guidelines for using, you know, sprays. However, like Councillor Harris mentioned, we've also got to think about the people we're employing, whether they're our own people or they're contractors, because we're also PCB. We do conduct business, therefore by default we're employing. So I think it opens up a whole lot of questions. And I think as part of the investigation, it would be really interesting to find out what the local, what the schools are using. So I think our parents would like to know, and if that's being looked at. But two, certainly I'm looking at things like dog parks as well, not just playgrounds, because I know when we do in our lawn, it'll actually say, do not have dogs and pets around this road. So I don't think you're going to get anyone not supporting this motion. I think it's really good wording, and that we're saying investigate. This is not decision or even caretaker mode. But I think there's lots of interested people in the council area that would like some answers. So I'm supporting the motion.
You, councillor Root.
Yeah, I was going to speak to it, but I also wanted to potentially move an amendment, because I appreciate that we're doing this tonight, but if the councillor Barnett would be happy with something like investigates and brings back a report by March next year, so the new council can consider it, because I'm mindful that a few of us, I don't want this just being, oh, we can just let it slip because there's a new council coming in. I actually want this to be something that it has teeth to it. It comes back as a formal report, and then it's up to the new council to look at that report and then work what they want. So I'd like to move an amendment, investigates and brings back a report by March 2023 on a trial, and then the rest can flow. But I want to have a date linked to this, so it doesn't just fall by the wayside.
just let me check the technicality. of that. So yeah, you're comfortable with those additional words?
Yes.
Yep, fine. Thank you. We'll get those up on the screen so we can have a look at that, particularly councillor Barnett.
I'm bearing in mind giving it a bit longer because we've got the election and then it'll be Christmas. I'm even happy to, actually, I'll go for April, actually. To give the staff a bit of time.
Investigates and brings back a report on. After the word investigates, thank you. Investigates and brings back a report on. Brings back a report by March
We've got
2023,
April.
by April,
Yeah.
sorry.
Not mindful, we've got the election.
2023 on. Yeah, that's what you intended to
Yeah,
add,
just read
councillor?
it. For council, yeah, no, I suppose then it's up to the council whether they do anything with that report that comes back.
So if you like, I can ask the mover and second if they're happy to incorporate, if you're happy with that. Mover, are you happy to incorporate that change?
Yes, although I would have liked it a bit earlier than that, but yes.
Yes, thank you. I haven't got much longer to try and get this a simple yes or no. A second, are you happy with that? Yes or a no?
I can't use the or in the middle.
Yes.
Yes. I'm trying to put something in my calendar.
Any bit I go home disappointed about. And our sleep, leave of the meeting to incorporate the change, all those in favour? It is thus incorporated, thank you. So councillor Rick, do you need anything else or do you wish to speak to any further? Sorry.
Yes, I do, yeah, so look, I thank the resident, in Broadview for bringing this, to our attention, and I'm assuming that was the resident that, same resident, yeah. And I'm not sure if we can name the resident, is that, accept allowed?
You have the
Yeah.
floor, councillor.
Sure. Well, I'd like to thank Josie Meyer for bringing this to my attention over many times and having further conversations. I know she's had conversations with a few around the table. She's been a real advocate for this change in our community, and I totally respect her reasonings as to why. And I'm fully supportive of the motion, and I'm thank council for also incorporating a date that it comes back, because I don't want it being just a trial and we don't hear anything more. So at least it's got a firm date. It would have been nicer earlier, but bearing in mind we've got Christmas, elections, I'll give the staff the opportunity to bring back a fulsome report. I also think at the City of Prospect that we are not just a council that goes with the status quo. We like to always benchmark ourselves on going above and beyond, excelling, striving for better things. So I don't think, I also do respect the extensive staff response that we had. But for me, that's just sitting with the current, that my view is that's just sitting with the current status quo and linking to what's acceptable and what's not industry. I think we can go better than that. And my going above and beyond with this, knowing that potentially the chemicals, in my view, not appropriate. I would like to see us absolutely have a look at the trial for a saturated steam treatment. I think we can do better than the status quo, and I want to see us go that extra mile.
Thank you. Any further debate on this item? Councillor Brick.
I just have a question which is related to this motion, which I fully support. So thank you, Councillor Barnett, for very interesting. But Councillor Barnett raised the issue about the goats, goats. Can I just ask, can residents keep goats in the City of Prospect?
There was a famous goat in Wilson Street. In fact, I met the people who said, we live in what was known as the goat block. That's what they proudly told me.
Is that a yes?
It's covered under livestock. I know that, CEO, but I don't know the exact rules around if you can, how many. I presume you do.
Through your mirror lock, and I'd have to take that notice. But to be honest with you, I don't know. I know I can keep them, but I have a rule of lots. So
Yeah.
We could bring one every day.
unless one of my directors can shed some light on that.
A director in charge of goats. Seriously? Yeah. CEO, you're happy for the director to address it?
I'm not going to say that.
Mr. Pierce.
Everyone knows.
I would genuinely be interested.
Okay, we'll get a memo out to people with a
Yeah.
response on that. Anything further,
Well,
councillor Brick?
Just, yeah, look, I'm interested in that. I was going to be a goat farmer, but I was only kidding. That is all.
You got one laugh in the room,
I
not around the
I
table.
googled it. Goodness me.
Anything further,
No,
Deputy Mayor?
quit worrying. Well, the goat need to wear PPE.
Is that a question you'd like me to direct to the CEO?
Yes, please.
Will the goat need to wear PPE? Yeah, see,
Through you, Mayor Lachlan, I think that would depend on whether it's legal to keep the goat in the city of Prospect in the first place.
Thank you.
Maybe.
might be. Might be his goat. Well, could be pink. Anything further, Deputy Mayor? No? Well, get pink, lime green,
I'm
yellow,
colourblind.
orange, high vis. Any further debate? So much one could say.
One more meeting.
See, I was from the chair briefly. If we give any consideration to the hazards of children eating goat food,
Through you, Mayor Lachlan, no, we haven't.
I used,
Not much difference.
I used-
Size, possibly.
I used to think very highly of this CEO. Hasn't considered that obvious. If there's no further debate, I'll go back to councillor Barnett to sum up.
Yes, well, I guess I'm not kidding around.
I used to say
And,
Justin.
Got more laughs. You go, it's all about the delivery. Sorry, councillor Barnett, continue to deliver.
yes, I did wonder how, the goats distinguished, between sort of weeds and, whatever, no.
Special glasses.
Yes, so anyway, I think,
Yeah, goat whisperer.
I think we've had enough, on that, but, again, you know, it's not a laughing matter, really, that's, I think my main point, and, so I'm just be very grateful if this, goes through unanimously, and, yeah, I don't know why, perhaps it can't be brought up at the local government association, and that we have an agreement, you know, amongst councils, and that we can, if it's the cost, it's, you know, well, surely we can, with our local government purchasing, with various, you know, other ideas, we can actually get something good and useful done, for our people, and our community. So, I commend the attention to you.
Thank you. That concludes debate. All those in favour? Unanimously supported. Thank you very much. And then we have questions with notice nil. Confidential items nil. Meeting is closed therefore at, we get 8:36.
Oh, wow.
Well done, members.
We're gonna get used